I'm calling to order this hearing or roundtable. This is a roundtable. Looks like a public hearing of the Committee of the Whole. I'm Phil Mendelson, Chair of the Council and Chair of the Committee of the Whole. Today is Thursday, October 8th, 2020. The time is 10:12 in the morning. We are broadcasting this or conducting this hearing virtually over the Zoom video conference broadcast platform. The public can watch this via Council Channel 13 or the DC Council website, and of course it will be filed or archived on the Council's website. The subject of this morning's hearing of the Committee of the Whole is two resolutions introduced by the Mayor to confirm members to the Board of Trustees of the University of the District of Columbia. PR23-930, the Board of Trustees of the University of the District of Columbia, Christopher Bell Confirmation Resolution of 2020, and PR23-931, Board of Trustees of the University of the District of Columbia, Mignon Clyburn Confirmation Resolution of 2020. Both of these measures were introduced at the request of the Mayor on September 8th of this year, so that's literally 1 month ago. The stated purpose of the roundtable and of these resolutions, let me see, I'm looking at the hearing notice now and remembering something. The stated purpose of these resolutions is for the Council to confirm the reappointment of Chris Bell to the UDC Board of Trustees for another 5-year term, and to confirm the Mayor's nomination of Mignon Clyburn for an initial 5-year term on the UDC Board of Trustees. Initially, the hearing notice was filed. We wanted to get this hearing date published as quickly as possible. So it was published as an oversight hearing on the University of the District of Columbia Board of Trustees. And it was still stated in the revised hearing notice that if the public wished to submit comments or offer testimony on the efficacy of functioning of the University of the District of Columbia Board of Trustees, they could do so. However, as of this morning, the witnesses who've signed up to testify are the two nominees. So we'll move directly to them. But the record in this matter will be open until 5 p.m. on October 19th, 2020. So if anybody watching this hearing wishes to submit comments regarding the functioning of the Board of Trustees, you're welcome to do so. And if anybody wishes to submit comments on these two nominees, they may do so. So what we're going to do is we are going to admit into the witness room. They've already been admitted, Ms. Clyburn and Mr. Bell. I could go by the order on the witness list, but I think ladies first. So Ms. Clyburn, if you want to begin, and then I'll hear testimony from Mr. Bell, and then I'll ask questions of both of you. Good morning, and it's nice to see you.
Good morning, my pleasure. Chairman Mendelson, distinguished members of the committee and staff. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you this morning. I am the daughter of activists whose quest for learning included the quest for equality and justice. They met over 60 years ago on the campus of South Carolina State College, now University, after being jailed for protesting. They began their careers educating public school children, supported institutions, particularly HBCUs, that are committed to uplifting the historically disadvantaged. That baton of commitment, hope, and faith with works was passed on to me. And today, I wish to share how my background and experience make me a strong candidate for the University of the District of Columbia Board of Trustees. As a federal and state utilities commissioner and chairperson, I applied what was witnessed on campuses like UDC by supporting policies and advocating for issues that seek to narrow persistent divides. I heard firsthand about the opportunity and challenges of bringing affordable, diverse, and competitive communication services to all Americans, particularly broadband, on campuses like Jackson State and Bowie State, when I launched a Connecting Communities tour, not from the comforts of my 8th floor office, but there on campus in person. I led the adoption of a notice of inquiry and proposed rulemaking at the Federal Communications Commission to examine how best to promote the availability of diverse and independent sources of video programming over the internet, television, and next generation platforms. I push for the establishment of the FCC's Connected Health Task Force that continues to fuel and inform the agency and key decision makers about telehealth and telemedicine policy, as well as broadband investment in rural and underserved communities. And I led the passage of historic interstate reforms of the egregious and exorbitant prison telephone calling rate regime that is further bankrupting families and breaking them apart. Those wishing to maintain an affordable connection with their incarcerated loved ones have yet to realize ubiquitous interstate relief or intrastate relief. But I, along with a committed few, will not abandon that quest until they do. In short, on campuses like UDC, are where my unwavering commitment to close persistent digital communications and opportunity divides that challenge rural, Native, African American, Latino, and low wealth communities began, and it is on this campus, UDC's campus, where I hope to further my commitment to public service. I recognized early that establishing and maintaining meaningful relationships, strengthening negotiation skills, and practicing reciprocity would net mutual benefits. As a manager of a small weekly newspaper for over 14 years, I recognize that listening, being accurate, and disseminating critical information to those previously uninformed are vital and can be transformative. For 19 years as a government official, I balanced the needs of consumers with the expectations of investor-owned utilities, built relationships with elected officials, and deepened my familiarity with industries in the electric, gas, telecommunications, and technology fields. If given the opportunity, I wish to expand existing relationships and establish new partnerships with industries in need of skilled workers. If current curriculum design models fall short in meeting workforce needs, I wish to work with the university's leadership to address that in order to best ensure that every student that completes a UDC program is turnkey ready for the jobs of tomorrow. The word reimagined may be a bit overused, but that is precisely what the times demand of us. If confirmed, I promise to leverage a lifetime of experiences and relationships, and in collaboration with fellow board members, do my share in ensuring that the University of the District of Columbia continues to transform itself over time to meet the changing needs of its students and the community. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you, and I look forward to any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Clyburn. Mr. Bell. You are muted, Mr. Bell.
I'm sorry about that. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Mendelson and members of the committee. My name is Christopher Bell, and it's my pleasure to be here today to offer my testimony in support of my candidacy for reappointment to the University of the District of Columbia Board of Trustees. I thank you all for the opportunity to appear here today, and I would especially like to thank Mayor Muriel Bowser for nominating me for reappointment. I've had the proud honor of serving on the Board of Trustees since 2011, and I would be honored to continue doing so for another term. By way of professional and personal background, I am a real estate attorney with expertise in housing finance, economic development, and conservation. I hold my undergraduate degree from the University of Texas at Austin and hold advanced degrees from the University of Texas and Harvard University. My wife of 21 years is an international lawyer with the Federal Trade Commission. We have 3 children. My daughter is a freshman in college in Vermont, and my 2 sons are in 11th and 7th grades respectively. All 3 have gone through DCPS schools and programs. As a member of the Board of Trustees, I have served as chair of the Operations Committee for 3 years. After that, I was vice chair of the board for 3 years, and I am presently starting my 3rd year as chair of the Board of Trustees. I have been an active board member. I have played a significant role in almost all executive searches at the University of the District of Columbia. I have helped to oversee the creation of the University Student Center. I routinely support and participate in university cultural and sporting events. I have done press interviews, been involved in recruitment initiatives, and contributed to the creation of various strategic plans at the university. I have also contributed financially to multiple efforts at the university. I believe the university is in a much better place since my arrival. Under my leadership of the university, in which I strongly benefited from the prior leadership of Joe Askew and Elaine Kreider, the university has excelled in terms of internal governance, human resource and procurement functions, and prioritizing real estate and facility needs to support student and academic outcomes. We have new PhD programs, successful graduate programs, and continued recognition of our David A. Clark School of Law and its nationally ranked clinical programs under the leadership of our new dean. Our community college is one of the largest colleges in our university, and our workforce and academic programs are aligned to meet the needs of residents and employers. We have strong administrative leadership in place at the university, and the university has a much better relationship with elected and community leaders of the district. We have created new scholarship programs, maintained overall accreditation, and achieved re-accreditation of certain programs. We are receiving more grant dollars and strengthening our partnerships with community-based organizations. We are seeing successes in our efforts to increase alumni participation and have made gains in fundraising through the University and Foundation. Also, we are doing a better job marketing and communicating the success of our efforts. While we have enjoyed many successes, we still have areas of opportunity to explore. First and foremost, our student enrollment continues to be challenged for a number of reasons, both specific to DC as well as natural trends in high school graduation. The current pandemic has heightened the challenge. We require capital to address our aged building and technology infrastructure. However, I do want to say thank you to the mayor and the council for recent assistance in that regard. We need to continue attracting dollars from donors to all facets of the university. We need to strengthen our relationship with the public P-12 system so that our DCPS and DCPCS graduates are better able to matriculate through the university's community college, other graduate and professional degree programs. The solutions to the challenges are both short-term and long-term. In the short term, we need to meet basic obligations to our students. We must better understand our students and their circumstances, identify barriers to retention, and make sure that our academic advising, financial support, and university resources are able to meet their needs. In the longer term, we have to acknowledge that there were many years of disinvestment in the university. That lack of investment impacted our product and image, impaired our infrastructure, and compromised our ability to fully serve our students. We continue to face budgetary pressure due to less local funds relative to our publicly funded counterparts in other jurisdictions. Finally, we are in a competitive market, and our student population is primarily local, older, and subject to economic and social insecurities more acutely than students at other area schools. In short, we have unique long-term challenges for which we have developed unique solutions through our equity imperative strategic plan. Our challenges are many and our resources are limited, but we are rich in motivation and determination. We are embracing the difficulties and opportunities that confront us. We are mobilizing resources, intellect, and collective creative ability through our outstanding faculty, exemplary staff, and stakeholders so that our wonderful students are able to aspire, accomplish, and take on the world. As the only public institution of higher learning in and for our nation's capital, we cherish our historical origins from many institutions, and we look forward to navigating a future that builds on our strength and takes the university to new levels of success and accomplishment. I would like to thank you, Chair Mendelson, for allowing me the opportunity to provide testimony today, and I welcome any questions you and the committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Thank you, both of you, and thank you for your willingness to serve. I do have some questions. Some of these are rather a pro forma for a confirmation hearing. I want to note that we sent the questions later than I like to each of you. We got back your responses yesterday. I've not had a chance to look through them, but I want to thank you. And if I have any follow-up questions, I or Christina Sutlow on my staff will get back to you. Mr. Bell, since you've been on the Board of Trustees for a number of years, can you describe what the time commitment is?
Oh, the time commitment varies, but at a minimum, I would say you're doing at least 2 hours a week. And then at the beginning of the school year, when we have fall convocation and we're doing committee meetings and board meetings, you might have 3 or 5 hours a week. So I would say on average it's 4 to 5 hours a week. And I, as chair, probably have a little bit more because I'm participating in other events and speaking at things as well.
And that includes the committee meetings as well.
Exactly, yes.
Excuse me for a second. So, Mr. Bell, you have the time to put in for another 4 years to do that?
Yes, I do.
And you're willing to give that time?
Yes, I do. I believe very strongly in the mission and the organization, and I want to do it. It's not a distinct honor.
Ms. Clyburn, you're aware of the time commitment and you're willing to commit that time required?
I am aware and I am willing to do so, sir.
Mr. Bell, why do you want to continue to serve on the board? Now, I know you touched on that, but I want you to kind of add free form it here.
Sure. I believe that as with the university being the only public institution in the District of Columbia, it's critically important that we have a functioning, viable institution. And so I feel in many ways the work that I was able to start is not done. When I got on the board, we were so reactionary in terms of having to respond to challenges to the very existential threat of the university's existence in terms of managing the executive structure, getting students, negotiating long-term agreements with faculty, trying to address some of the reputational issues and challenges that we had. We were in a reactionary mode for quite a long time. We went through, we had a change in president, we had interim presidents, and with the arrival of Ron Mason and his excellent administrative team to support the university, we're now in the process of where we can look proactively and look towards the future in terms of what we want to do. And we've created new degree programs, we've stabilized our infrastructure, we have new technology infrastructure. So the university is in a place where it can take off and start realizing the promise that I think that it has, and I want to continue being a part of that journey.
Ms. Clyburn, I know you touched on this, but I'm going to ask you as well. Why do you want to serve on the board and what strengths do you believe you'll bring?
One of the things that I noticed when I first started doing my due diligence, so to speak, I'm not an attorney, but I love using that phrase when it comes to the university, is the fact that it meets you where you are. I have always been supportive and intrigued by institutions that meet those they are committed to serve where they are. If you want to have a certificate, to take part in a certificate program, a degree program, or even if you want to become an attorney, the University of the District of Columbia is there for you. So that in and of itself, an institution that welcomes all and will educate all that are interested in learning is an institution that I would appreciate serving, taking part, and doing everything I can to support and uplift. And you mentioned my background. I consider myself one who is willing and able to bridge and address persistent disparities and gaps that exist in our communities. And I will do everything in my power to ensure that the University of the District of Columbia, along with, if confirmed, along with the other trustees, continues to do just that.
Thank you. Let me ask, this was on the pre-hearing questions I sent, but again, I haven't seen the answers. Are you both current with your taxes and liabilities to the district government and federal government, Mr. Bell?
Yes, absolutely.
Ms. Clyburn?
Yes, I am.
And conflict of interest. Mr. Bell, have you had over the years any conflict of interest? Do you foresee that you might have a conflict of interest in matters to come before the board?
I'm not aware of any prior conflicts of interest, and I don't anticipate any in the future.
And if any were to come up, you would?
I would go through BIGA immediately to make sure that there was clearance if there was a conflict. I would also let the university know. But that's something I very strongly believe in because I would want to avoid any appearance of impropriety with respect to my duties and my job and our family connections.
Ms. Clyburn, same question to you.
I have no known conflicts of interest. I've been in government for quite some time and recognize the rules and recognize, I would call the look in other tests that would, I believe, prevent me from either, even coming close to, violating any type of conflict. If I anticipate or if I have a question, I will definitely progress and address those in real time.
Thank you. Mr. Bell, you touched on this in your prepared statement, but I'm going to ask this a little differently. You've served on the board for what, since 2011. You were vice chair for 3 years before you began your time as chair of the board. You were on the board during its more tumultuous years. What is the current status of the board's relations, first among its members?
I think that the relationship among the members is very good. We're a collegial board. We respect each other. We come from diverse backgrounds. I believe everyone that is on the board is a contributing member in terms of their honest work and financially as well. And there's been no substantive disagreements, if you will, among board members. We question the administration about ideas and proposals, but we do that in a sincere and honest way in order to analyze and get better understandings. But nothing is taken personal. And I believe that this is probably one of the best functioning boards in years. And I would think that the administration would say so as well.
And what about the board's relations with the university community?
As far as I know, that the relations with the board's university community are strong as well. We're very actively engaged in trying to make our university be a resource for the entire community. And we want the public to access the university and make use of our resources. We integrate and interact with various groups that have interest with the university. And so to my knowledge, we are doing well there as well.
And as you were answering, I was reflecting on when I first took oversight over UDC. And I would say that distrust was a predominant word. Everybody was distrusting everybody.
I think that's true.
The university community distrusted the board.
I think that's true, yeah.
Different colleges of the university distrusted each other. Everybody distrusted the president, or no, everybody distrusted the city council. I don't want to make light of it, but there was a lot of distrust. And your feeling is that that's been overcome or largely overcome?
I think it's largely been overcome. I mean, I do think that there are still disagreements, and no, it's not all one harmonious love boat, if you will. But I do think that there's been a commitment to a culture of transparency. And I do believe that when we make decisions, we try to be honest in terms of why we're making decisions. And I think that people have feel a sense that they can come not only to the president, but to the trustees if they have questions or issues. And we're trying to be much more transparent and interactive, not only with students, but with faculty and with stakeholders to let them know what our intentions are with respect to the university.
I want to ask a question or two about enrollment and retention. I'm concerned that enrollment has not grown. Back in the 1990s, if I remember correctly, enrollment was closer to like 15,000.
Yeah.
The government, meaning City Hall, cut the funding substantially to the university. Enrollment has been around 5,000, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's combined, the four-year flagship as well as the community college. How does the university bolster its enrollment, and how do you improve retention? I'll ask that first of you, Mr. Bell, and then I'll ask Ms. Clyburn.
Sure. Well, it's a very difficult issue. You know, based on numbers that were received at our September board meeting, the university's enrollment right now is about close to 4,000 in terms of the flagship and the community college. That does not include the workforce programs. But it's a troubling concern. And the reason for the drop, there are many. Nationwide, there's a drop in high school students. There's stronger competition for high school students. Less people are deciding to go to college. So we're dealing with those institutional factors just like anybody else is dealing with, any other institution. But then with respect to DC, we have challenges in terms of competing with our peers in the area. We have difficulties in terms of addressing perceptions that people still have about the university and its ability to offer a quality first-rate education. We know that we're able to do that, and we have the confidence in our faculty and our staff support to offer such an education, but we still have to address the image that some have that the university, when compared to other institutions in the area, does not compare favorably to them. So we're actively working to address that. In terms of recruitment to the university, you asked about both recruitment and retention, but in terms of recruitment, we have to have a kind of a differentiated approach for recruitment. If you want to get the first time in college, which is what so many of the publications and institutional groups that measure university enrollment look at, we've made gains in terms of getting first-time students in college. We've got our SALs and VALs program. We're actively reaching out to the public schools to get more students into our university, and we're increasing our presence. This is all outlined in our equity imperative. We're increasing our presence and relationships with the DCPS schools and with the DCPS charter schools. So that's dealing with that first time in college. However, our students are traditionally older than average, if you will, around 26 or 28. They often have children, they're often working, they have to have full-time jobs. So they're much more sensitive to changes in the economy. And with this pandemic going on and the loss of jobs and the changing economic structure, we've been disproportionately impacted by those changes. And it shows up in terms of our enrollment numbers. So we've got to keep on doing what we've said we're going to do on our strategic plan of getting out and interfacing with DCPS to make sure we're getting students. But then also with those older students, we have to make sure that we're targeting them and that we're helping to remove the barriers that help them or that undermine their ability to stay at the university by offering them academic supports and financial supports to be at the university. In terms of retention, we have to look at what we're doing in order to make sure that these students are able to stay here. That means quality academic advising, quality financial counseling, having strong relationships with students and peers and professors so that they're able to mentor and network, and making sure that they're able to get through this university in the 4-year window or the 5-year window that they may have for themselves and graduate with a degree so that they're better able to access the benefits of living in the DC area. Because we all know that a 4-year degree is necessary in order to economically take part of the economic resources in the area. So both from a retention and recruitment area, we have work to do, but I am confident that we have made gains, but it's a long haul. It's not something that we can do overnight, but there have been moments of gain, but the overall challenge still remains. And we're actually having a retreat, a virtual retreat, October 17th, where enrollment strategies will be first and foremost on the agenda.
Do we need a separate strategy for the community college?
Well, the community college is declining as well. And so the community college does need a strategy, and that's part of the differentiated strategy that I've talked about. We can't have a one-size-fits-all approach. We have to look at what each portion of the university is doing and the students that it's serving to make sure that we're meeting them. So yes, I think a targeted plan for the community college and how students are able to access the curriculum there, as well as creating articulated pathways so that the students at the community college will be able to then matriculate to the flagship to get the 4-year degrees, the graduate degrees, and professional degrees as well, is something that is needed. And it's something that Ron and his team have been working on.
Ms. Clyburn, the same question to you, which is about enrollment, retention, and the community college. And you haven't been at the university for 9 years as Mr. Bell has, but what thoughts do you have?
Well, one of the reasons that I was so thrilled that Mayor Bowser gave me the opportunity to serve is I recognize certain realities. Number one, as the chairman just mentioned, Chairman Bell, just mentioned, this is a competitive landscape. The Washington, D.C. area, I don't know how it ranks nationally per capita, but there is a lot of competition by way of other institutions of higher learning that area school students have to choose from. Those are realities. In terms of the University of the District of Columbia and its strengths, and its ability again to meet students where they are, I think doubling down or when it comes to P3, public-private partnerships is necessary and the time's warranted. I mentioned when you gave me the opportunity to offer some suggestions, we Collectively, we need to make sure that at every level, the certification level, the community college level, as well as the general traditional school level, that the courses and programs that are designed to reskill, retrain, and prepare our students for their next step, employment or entrepreneurship, that is in tune, is in line, in sync with the needs of industry and the skill sets they need to be successful entrepreneurs. Expanding and strengthening the industry in government partnerships. Washington, D.C. is a government town. It just is. I know some people try to ignore it and avoid it. It is not. So strengthening those relationships with those industries as well, and including government, could really help in terms of making transition from UDC to the workplace more seamless. So those need to be, I think, enhanced. The dual enrollment potential when it comes to public school students. If anywhere, I think that I'm excited about is there, especially during this crisis. In my home, I'm sitting in South Carolina, full disclosure, right now, and I spoke to a young lady at Midlands Tech who affirmed to me that the one growth area at the college was their dual enrollment, because students as young as 10th grade can start on a professional track or a higher educational track if adequately designed and supported by both the high school and the college. Again, if I were to, I have this quirkiness, Mr. Chairman Mendelson. I often pick, a word of the day. It's just one of my many quirks. Leveraging, to me is key. Leveraging those relationships, recognizing that we may need to work with foundations and other, institutions to help in a sort of a wraparound, one-stop shop oriented support system for students. All of those things are necessary. The university is in a great position to teach and uplift when it comes to learning. But there's so many other barriers to success for a student that comes on that campus virtually or in person that we need to address. And if we do so, I think all of the challenges you brought forth would be recognized. I know I'm running up of time, but the last thing I hope to say is I really sometimes do not think that the university gets enough credit for what it actually does. And I'm going to poach this, and I use the word poach for a reason. I'm from Chairman Bell. The university is a place, as I mentioned, that brings in all, accepts all, and educates all. Those who the other institutions did not recognize as diamonds, the university does. And when after that first or second year, they have proven themselves, guess who comes calling? Those other universities who did not bring them in. So one of the things that I want to bring forth, now that is going to impact retention, but I want to affirm that the university's value, and this won't show up on any stat, is enhancing the greater college and university community, because they have helped those people who knew their value, the university knew their value, knew they were worth the investment, they have proven themselves, and then others come calling. I want us to keep that in mind as we evaluate the numbers, and those are the numbers that you don't see that I think contribute greatly to the university, show well on the university, as well as the general Washington, D.C. area.
Thank you. To take this a little further, for both of you in your pre-roundtable responses, you both acknowledge that UDC plays a role in workforce development in the district and that more students need to see the potential that UDC offers in this area. How do we do so? Mr. Bell?
Sure. So one of the ways that we do that is we make sure that the university's representatives are actively engaged with industry and political leaders in the community to make sure that we're identifying the needs that those leaders and businesses have. So for example, early on, we created workforce programs to help in hotel and in construction industries to help, so we would have workers, the District of Columbia would have workers that qualify in those areas. Given that we are in a pandemic now, and there's a lot of loss going on with the pandemic, there are still areas of opportunities that need to be addressed in connection with the pandemic. So home health aides, tracers, contact tracers, these are opportunities that the university, or not, I shouldn't say opportunities, but these are areas where there is a need to have credentialed workforce to help address these needs. So I think the onus is on the university to constantly maintain communication with business leaders so that we're able to meet their needs and offer workforce program trainings that align with what the business community needs.
And Mr. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was calling on you.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'll take I guess another, approach to that. When I hear you ask a question such as that, I think about back in the Stone Ages when I was leaving high school and going on to college. What was in vogue was on-the-job training and co-op. I didn't even know what a co-op was, but I thought after I learned, it seemed to be only applicable or available to those majoring in engineering. But the mindset, the ability to go to learn and to be able to experience what is going on in the workforce, I just thought was just a phenomenal formula. To the university, particularly its community college, I believe some of that, and I'm sure this is happening, needs to be more codified and expanded when it comes to classroom learning. Those stars in industry, in the vocational sciences and the like, they're doing the work and they have been noted for it in private industry or in government. They should be a part of the classroom experience. Part of the partnership could grow and include them helping to teach, so that when that certificate or that degree is attained, that there is not some kind of culture shock for that student once they get into the workforce. So to me, a lot of this is growing and expanding and recognizing those barriers at each point in the educational and workforce experience, and making it as seamless as possible as one transitions. If we think about all of that in concert, as opposed to the siloed approach it often takes, I think we will see successes from the time they walk on campus until the time they receive their first paycheck.
Thank you. So I'm gonna change the subject and talk about fundraising and capital giving. Mr. Bell, in your pre-hearing response, you mentioned that UDC needs to improve alumni giving. That's something that many trustees have mentioned over the year, but how do we go about doing so? This seems to be continually, we talk about it, but we really haven't accomplished it. So how do we go about doing so?
Thank you. I think we're finally at a point now where we're going to start seeing some dividends. In working with the University of Foundation, we have a strong vice president that is in charge of giving at the university, and he's creating financial infrastructure to help us meet the needs and the challenges of trying to grow our fundraising, both through trustee giving as well as external donors giving to the university. We have tens of thousands of graduates in the metropolitan area, but unfortunately, we have literally lost contact with them. We don't have emails, we don't have addresses with them. And so the foundation has been working very hard, very aggressively to try to increase our outreach to this population that has been disconnected from the university. And I'm pleased to say that we have made gains. Alumni giving is up. Based on the report that we got at our last board meeting. However, we still have a long way to go in terms of connecting with our alumni and reaching out. We have 2 additional alumni members and 1 returning alumni member that will play a role in that effort. And actually it's on the shoulders of all trustee members. But with the work that our Vice President of Fundraising is doing in this area, along with building the technology that we will need to help maintain contact and ties with our alumni, I'm confident that we'll be able to now better reach and access those alumni to help them understand the critical role that they play in the university, and that how the university's image and strength and reputation continues to affect the degrees that they've received from the university.
Ms. Clyburn, do you have any thoughts about how to improve alumni giving?
One of the ways is to affirm the value and remind alumni of the value that they received when they walked off that campus or walked across the stage. And really, honestly, you know, for all of us collectively to reach them where they are. Small gifts, no gift is too small. And if there were continued ways, because I know things are happening, so I don't want to say that, you know, any pronouncement I'm making now is just a building block on what I know is already happening. But, you know, from $10 a year to $100 million a year, you know, whatever your ability to give it is, we should reinforce as a board and as the part of the you know, institute of you know, the committee, I believe is the Office of Advancement. We should collectively you know, work together as we met those students where they were when they walked on campus, to meet the potential donors where they are, so they can contribute and you know, to reach back you know, to others who are in the same situation now as they were then. So to fine tune and to build on that, and to make sure that there are levels and tiers of giving where everybody can participate, I believe growing that model would be a positive, a series of positive steps that would increase that number even more than it did this past year.
Ms. Clyburn, as I said before, I haven't had a chance to read either of your responses.
It's riveting, sir, riveting.
So I'm looking forward to it, but my staff read it. And so, Ms. Clyburn, in your answers, you spoke of every single fundraising ask should be bifocal in design.
Right.
I'm not sure what that means, and could you elaborate more on how that would play out?
When I say bifocal in that context, what I mean by that is we welcome all contributions in the standard way. The other part of the focal, you know, matrix, you know, seeing through those lenses would include more hands-on on-campus support. You know, I mentioned earlier about, you know, those who have the skills, who are doing the jobs that those students are attempting to, coming inside of the classroom, assisting with the, you know, the core educational as well as, you know, coursework, you know, construct, you know, that is a positive. If there needs to be a further assistance and enhancement, again, I'm not picking on, but the Office of Advancement is very critical in all of this. If there needs to be more enhanced support by way of grant writing and other, there are a lot of resources out there, but they can be extremely complicated even for the largest of universities. There are persons inside of these private foundations and institutions that is all they do, and they're very good at it. Bringing them on, part of that focus would be bringing them on to assist and help review before submission those types of applications. So when I say bifocal, it is lovely to send a check. That should not be the end of the relationship. That should not be the only element of the relationship. I think the university could grow even more if we take a bifocal approach to contributions.
Thank you. Mr. Bell, the university has a number of pressing capital needs. I'm thinking of, for instance, I think the district government was able in the capital budget to help with the acquisition of 4250 Connecticut.
Yes.
But the university doesn't have the, I'm going to say $30 million to build it out properly.
Mm-hmm.
Bacchus, I can't remember how much money is needed at Bacchus. The university has consolidated its east of the river facilities to the old Congress Heights School. But if I remember correctly, that's about a $28 million purchase in several years. Have the Board of Trustees ever thought about a capital campaign around one of these projects that would help us in terms of getting funding? You know, we have a match right now where, and we changed it for this year, but that doesn't mean we're going to keep it at 1-for-1 going forward. Last year it was 2-for-1 for every $2 you raised. The district contributed another $1, up to I think it was $1.5 million. We don't have a match in here in capital, but maybe designing a capital campaign where the trustees actually went out and said, look, we want to get, if we could raise 14 million, the city will come up with the other 14 million for us to purchase Old Congress Heights. Have you all thought about something like that for capital?
No, it's an idea worth considering though. Obviously, you know, I've mentioned that we're having a retreat October 17th, a virtual retreat where the primary focus is going to be enrollment. The other focus is going to be fundraising. And ideas like that are critically important in terms of providing longer term solutions to our capital needs. I think what has been my focus and what I'd like to see addressed is those areas of our capital infrastructure that touch directly on students. So to the extent that we have technology needs, that we have mechanical systems, chilling systems, elevator needs that aren't working and that impact the comfort and the condition of the students and the professors in the classroom, I think that's where my energies have been directed at, and I think that's where many of the board members have been directed at. We've also recently started looking more at the ability to do naming campaigns, to name our buildings on campus. And in fact, one of those is ongoing right now. It's being worked through the foundation. But I think a capital plan, such as you're suggesting, a matching program, is something that the board would not be adverse to. It's just something that hasn't, I would say, been in the list of priorities because it seems like there was just so many more overwhelming capital needs that daily confront students and faculty that we were hoping to get those addressed. Does that answer the question?
One over the other, but I do think that if the university was able to embark on the kind of capital campaign that we see a lot of the private schools do, thinking there of private, you know, a private school like Sidwell Friends where they'll do the campaign to build their new gym. I think that was many years ago. But if UDC could do something like that, your needs, I touched on this a minute ago, 35 million to build out 4250. So you've got the building. Yeah. Really not designed for classroom space, right? Bacchus, which I believe is actually around 35 million to build that out the way you really want it to be, that can be fully utilized and best utilized. Acquisition of Old Congress Heights School. And then on top of that are just the basic infrastructure needs like HVAC and updating, well, I can't remember. I think it's electrical as well. Yeah. Computer infrastructure so that all the buildings are modern in that regard. That are beyond what we've been able to put in the capital budget. It's a struggle every year to see if we can just help with one thing. We're able to increase capital this year or a couple of years from now, maybe not this year, but so I think there might be an opportunity here for a capital campaign, and that's all I'm pressing you on.
Sure. No, and I don't mean to dismiss the idea. I think it's a very good idea, and it's actively something that we should actively explore. You know, working with our leadership and tapping into that alumni base that we have here, I think that is something that could produce returns. And while we haven't focused on it in the past, it certainly didn't mean to suggest that it's not something that we shouldn't look at in the future, because as you said, we have overwhelming capital needs, and a targeted campaign for, I think, one of those buildings, I think could produce some fruitful results if directed and conducted properly. Absolutely.
And I didn't mean to suggest that you were disregarding what I was saying.
Okay.
I just put it out there. Sure. I do not have any other questions for you. Final words, Ms. Clyburn, do you have anything else that you want to add?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to thank you once again for this opportunity. Thank Mayor Bowser for showing faith and confidence in me through the nomination process, for nominating me. And I just wanted to reaffirm to you that if confirmed, I will work with the other board of trustees to make you proud of your commitment, your investment, and your affirmation. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Mr. Bell, do you have any concluding words?
Sure. Well, I just want to say also thank you, Chair Mendelson, for the opportunity to speak, and that I'm just really very pleased to be considered for renomination again. And so I want to thank the mayor as well. I think we have an outstanding board of trustees. I am hopeful that I will be reappointed and that Trustee Clyburn will join as well, because I appreciate her ideas. And I just want to reaffirm again my commitment. I believe in DC schools. My children are in DC public schools. I believe in higher education. I believe in the value of a public university, and I will maintain my commitment not only to students, but to faculty and to administrators to do my level best to make sure that this university continues to move in the right place. And if we fall short of our goals, we will be falling in the right direction, but we will always be making progress on behalf of the citizens of the District of Columbia.
Thank you. Thank you, each of you, and thank you for your willingness to serve. I wish we were having this hearing in person. It'd be nice to shake your hands, but it is what it is. So the record in this matter closes at 5 p.m. on October 19th, and if we are able to, we will move forward with the confirmations at our October 20th meeting. I don't want to predetermine what's going to happen, but I think the committee will move forward with your nominations. If anybody who's watching wishes to submit comments, you have until 5 p.m. on October 19th. Again, thank you to you, Ms. Clyburn, to you, Mr. Bell. And this hearing is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
11:03.